Welcome back to the channel, guys. We just covered Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, and today we are covering the 1997 film Nothing to Lose with Tim Robbins and Martin Lawrence. So this film is only available right now on DVD. So this is the best quality version that you'll probably be able to get out there. Maybe digital, maybe digital. I know digital. For films that are only on DVD, it seems like digital has high definition versions of them. I don't know. I'm not really a digital guy. I much prefer physical media. So this is the DVD. Got this at an FYE for like $7 or something like that. And so, yeah, this is the cover here. Now, what's funny about this cover, and what's really funny just about, I guess, the poster for this film in general, is the fact that if you look at Tim Robbins and Martin Lawrence, it's one of those instances where their heads do not match the bodies. You know what I mean? It's a very photoshopped effect. I can almost guarantee you that this poster, they were not there. They did not do this. I would be surprised if they did. Martin Lawrence, even more so. His head looks so just photographed and slapped on there. It's not even funny. Tim Robbins, they blended in a little better, but it's still pretty obvious. On here we have from NY1 News, the funniest comedy of the year, 1997. Which I don't know, what else came out in 97 comedy-wise? Let's look that up, because I am kind of curious. I'm thinking, did Austin Powers come out in 97? An Austin Powers film? Let's see here. Yep. All right. Yeah. So the first Austin Powers came out in 97. The first Austin Powers is pretty damn funny. So I don't know. This movie is pretty funny too, but I think I might have to give the slight edge to Austin Powers. Just off the top of my head. That's the first one that came to my mind. Anyways, putting that aside, that's a review there. And then on the back here, we have a couple reviews. We have from WBAI Radio in New York, wildly, wonderfully, outrageously funny. Do not miss it. And then on the bottom, from Rolling Stone, probably Peter Travers, I would assume, terrific teamwork. Pretty accurate stuff going on here. So this film is, we're going to get into it, but the back here has the write-up. And then sort of similar to the Ace Blu-ray, and I assume the Ace DVD as well. I don't have When Nature Calls on DVD, but I assume it's the same exact kind of thing. Nothing to Lose has nothing to lose in terms of special features because there really isn't any. I love how back in like when DVDs were popular, I mean they're still around, but they're not like the thing that they were. I love that special features included a French language track and Spanish subtitles. That's a special feature. Okay. I mean, I guess to some that don't speak English, but for me, it's not. Chapter search, that's a special feature. You can really tell this is a early DVD. Similar to Ace, you get a theatrical trailer for a special feature, and that's it. So it's kind of unfortunate. This came out in 97, so it would be nice to get a updated version. Again, like I said with the Ace thing, maybe get Martin and Tim and Steve and gee, I don't know, Kelly Preston and everybody together and do a commentary or something. Come on. Anyways, the write-up on the back here. This hugely funny action comedy hit stars big screen favorites Martin Lawrence from Bad Boys and Tim Robbins from The Shawshank Redemption. Advertising executive Nick Beam, played by Robbins, has completely bottomed out. His career is a mess, his marriage is on the rocks, and a fast-talking would-be carjacker, played by Lawrence, has just jumped into his car. So, what does he do? Nick throws common sense out the window and turns the tables on his captor. Soon, this mismatched pair speeds off on a comical crime spree that includes holdups, high-speed chases, and revenge. Set to a hot hit soundtrack, I gotta say, there's a couple songs in here I love. I added them to my Spotify, playlist. It's so good. Nothing to Lose is another wild comedy success from the creator of Ace Ventura and The Nutty Professor. So, yeah, this is written and directed by Steve Oedekerk. Obviously, that's why we're covering it. All right, so let me get out of the Austin Powers stuff here. Pull this back up. There we go. So, all right, we're gonna do it the same way we did the Ace thing. So there is the DVD in my collection, and I'll just show you the nothing special about the disc. All right, so the critical analysis, because I actually couldn't find too much trivia in terms of this film. Like, there wasn't anything that really jumped out at me as like, I gotta share with you guys. So Rotten Tomatoes, the score on Rotten Tomatoes is 28% based on 25 reviews. I think that was also the same thing, 25 for Ace. There is no consensus. They don't have a consensus for this film. And the audience score is 68% based on 47,323 ratings as of this recording. So, again, sort of similar to like what I said about the Ace thing. I know I keep comparing these, but 25 reviews? Come on. Rotten Tomatoes, you gotta boost it up a little bit. I'm sure that percentage would go up a little bit. See, that's the only issue I have with Rotten Tomatoes. People that aren't, because Rotten Tomatoes is really kind of used as a should I watch this movie or not. That's what the general public thinks of Rotten Tomatoes as. And I mean, it's what it's kind of designed for. So you go on there and you're like, should I watch Nothing to Lose? You pull it up and you see that people that are supposed to be, the people we trust with deciding what we watch, which is kind of a crazy concept in and of itself. But these people, the general idea of it for this film is that the movie is not worth watching. And it could steer people clear of the film. And I think this is a damn good movie. Like I said with Ace, it's not trying to cure a disease. It's not trying to do anything like that. This is literally a movie you pop in and you're feeling down, or you have some free time, or you want to laugh. Pop it in. It works. So I think Rotten Tomatoes needs to get more reviews, and so it'll kind of boost the ratings, That's my only issue. Anyways, pulled 2 reviews from there, and the first one is from Gene Siskel from the Chicago Tribune, and he wrote, "Nothing to Lose is mainstream, mildly entertaining, but clearly a money grab by Tim Robbins and his less-in-demand co-star, Martin Lawrence." Whew, those are fighting words for Martin Lawrence. What do you mean less in demand? Yeah, he didn't do a movie like The Shawshank Redemption, but he was coming off of Bad Boys, which was a big success, I think, right? I don't know. Whatever. Oh, and he gave it 2.5 out of 4. So yeah, I mean, what's interesting about that is Rotten Tomatoes considers that rotten, but it's closer to a 4 than it is a 0. I don't know, whatever. The positive review that I did pick up from this is from Phil Villarreal from the Arizona Daily Star. He gave it 4 out of 5, and he wrote, "It's a fantastic comedy. Lawrence and Robbins share an electric chemistry." On IMDb, shifting over to IMDb, the score is 6.7 out of 10 based on 41,755 reviews. So that's a little more, that's pretty in line with the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, which was a 68% based on 47,000 reviews. So definitely when you do decide if you're going to watch a movie or not, I would say go to IMDb, because it just seems like there's a lot of ratings for movies over there. And go to Rotten Tomatoes and really look at the audience score. Really focus in on that audience score, because I'm telling you, the critic consensus for films is real hit and miss with me personally. So that's the critical analysis. There was no trivia, and there was no awards that I could find for this film. This film was just kind of released, and that's it. It just kind of came and went. So I did write my initial thoughts, because this was a first-time watch for me. I had never seen this prior to doing this series, so that's cool, right? And, it got me to watch a new movie. My initial thoughts on watching it for the first time. I wrote, Nice idea, and definitely has funny moments sprinkled throughout, but it seems uneven. It wants to be both comedic and dramatic, and that's very difficult to achieve. The chemistry between Tim and Martin is odd, but that's part of the story. Their performances are mixed for me. Tim is unbalanced between being totally normal one second and then delusional the next. Martin is clearly riding high on the heels and success of Bad Boys, but he's the stronger of the two characters. I like his backstory and his motivation. Classic guy trying to do right by his family. Overall, a film I'll happily watch again, but not Oedekerk's strongest work. His cameo, though, is pretty friggin' awesome. So that's my just kind of few sentence thoughts after I finished watching it. And immediately when I finished watching it, that's what I wrote. So that's that. Alrighty guys, so I assume you have seen this film. If you haven't, I would definitely recommend renting it on digital, picking up a DVD copy of this, and watching it, and then coming back here, and because we're going to talk about it. And then obviously the comment section is really designed to elaborate on anything I talk about, anything I might not talk about, and we can have some real nice conversation in the comments down below. So go check out the film. So the way the film opens is awesome, I must say. This is a pretty cool opening. I'm just going to read you what I have here, and then I'll kind of elaborate on it. I wrote it's very honest and accurate. It's a very honest and accurate depiction of a couple. I got date night vibes with Steve Carell and Tina Fey, but of course this came before date night, so date night might have taken that whole kind of approach and then applied it to its premise. It's something even I would do or try to do with my girlfriend, honestly. Like, that's how real it felt. I love the line Tim Robbins' character says here. He goes, I came to realize you're a fat idiot. And then I wrote, must admit, when it was Anne's turn to pretend with Nick, I thought it was going to turn out to be genuine. Okay, so if you have decided to not just check out this film, if you just want to watch this video, because I am going to go kind of scene by scene here, that's fine. You can do that. So I'm going to tell you what I'm talking about, just so you guys know. The film opens up with Tim Robbins and Kelly Preston, who are, are they married? Are they engaged? Are they just boyfriend and girlfriend? Jeez, I feel bad. I feel bad for not knowing that exactly. Let me know down in the comments. I could check, but I don't want to waste that time. They're in a relationship. I feel like that's the appropriate kind of blanket to put. I don't know if they're married, engaged, like I said, but they're in a relationship and they're just doing this game. You know, they're chilling out in bed and they're kind of just slinging things at each other that if you were to be a fly on the wall and you didn't know they were playing a game, it would be like, whoa, this is some heavy shit. This is like, he's like dissing her. He doesn't want to be in a relationship with her anymore. They're just fucking around. That's the whole point of it. And that's how the film opens up. It just opens up on Tim Robbins kind of like you think he's breaking up with her. And it turns out they're just, you know, having fun and shooting the shit. Gets a real nice vibe going here because once you realize it, you're like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. That's like something, like I said in my notes, that is something I would genuinely do with like my personality. That's something like if my significant other was game for something like that, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. But like I did right. I honestly thought when it was her turn and she was like admitting to, you know, sleeping with other guys, I was like, this is going to turn out to be real. It's going to somehow turn out to be real. It doesn't, you know. She kind of ends it with, yeah, your father was so good. And then she just kind of loses it. And really nice little back and forth going on there. Now, this is a film, unlike Ace, where I'm pretty sure a lot of it, maybe on Martin Lawrence's part, he might have been improvising, but I think everything else is pretty well scripted and laid out for the actors. Tim Robbins doesn't come off as somebody that would do a whole lot of improvising. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So yeah, anyways, that's that. And then what happens is it just goes right into the opening credits. And I love this. I genuinely love this song. It's called If I Had No Loot by Tony, and it's spelled Tony! Exclamation point, Toni! Exclamation point, and Tone! With that little, like you know what I mean, that little symbol above the E. I don't know what that's called, but that's what it is. So Tone exclamation point. That's the artist, or artists, like a group back in the 90s. So anyways, that song plays, and when I heard it, I was like, damn, this is a good song. This is a good song. Put it on my Spotify playlist. And I love it. It's so good. It's really catchy. Check it out. It's a really strong 90s vibe. Has that New Jack Swing kind of thing going on with it, which is, obviously very popular with Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson, and you definitely hear it in that song as well. So anyways, after that great song and the opening credits, which are funky and definitely 90s as well, very In Living Color-esque, which is cool because Steve Oedekerk did work on In Living Color. Opens up with Nick at this corporation, this company that he works at, which is like, we can assume, an advertising or something along those lines company. And it's a zippy presentation, right? So this guy comes up that is trying to, I guess, demonstrate a presentation for Nick to approve on and sell this product or whatever. And I wrote, the zippy presentation for Nick is a wonderful example of subtle humor, and it truly is. Only after Nick asks him what is behind Zippy did I realize what they were going for. I have a feeling half of the audience on first watch didn't catch it, sort of like me, and the other half did. I like that kind of humor. Not every joke or sight gag has to land for every single person every single time. So yeah, this guy comes up and he's like trying to sell this spokes cookie, like this spokesperson, but it's a cookie. And he has like little chocolate chips, because it's a chocolate chip cookie, and it's little chocolate chips like a trail, and everyone's laughing, and the guy that's presenting doesn't know why they're laughing. And that was sort of me. I was like, why is everyone laughing? Only after Nick is like, it looks like shit behind him, like literal shit. It looks like he's shitting. It's so good. I was like, oh fuck, that's I like that kind of humor. I really like that kind of humor. Kind of bringing me up to speed, right? The audience, so we feel like that character, the guy doing the presentation. That comes and goes. Now we get the introduction to Philip. Played by Michael McKean from Better Call Saul, which is like, I think, one of his big claim to fames. Philip he's a side character for sure, but he does play a pretty big part in this story. So he's like the boss to Nick. Okay, so he's the boss to the character of Nick, and he just randomly brings him over, and Nick notices this like statue of this supposed fertility god, and it's like a giant, just a long thing right in front of him. Like, I guess it's supposed to be a penis. I don't know. It doesn't look like a penis, doesn't have a head or anything, but it's just this long thing. And Philip is like in love with this thing. He's like, look how good this thing looks. And obviously Nick is sort of like the audience. We're just like, what the fuck? What is that thing? It's a statue. It's like a little statue you could put on a desk, but it has a giant boner just going straight up. Yeah, so I wrote, it's a kind of a bizarre sight gag, but Philip likes it, and it comes into play later in the film with a sort of kind of meaning. So that's the purpose of that, plus just to be funny. Now we're really going to get into what kind of kicks this story into play. So that whole little banter at the beginning with them joking about, cheating or, whatever, that kind of comes into play here, starting with this. So Phil needs Nick to cover so he can have dinner with like an important client or whatever. And so that kind of screws up Nick's plans with Anne, who is played by Kelly Preston. And I wrote, Philip says, I don't get this lucky every day. Nick goes, look, if it's about a woman, and then he gets cut off. And that's great little writing there, where it's just, he gets cut off, and Philip is like, thanks, man, you're great. And he takes off and he leaves. Cool stuff, nice little setup there. So obviously, Nick thinks that, his plans are screwed, and he has to cancel on Anne, which sucks. You think you know where the story's going when you watch something like this. Now, what's really cool is I wrote that the following scene goes against what you might think will happen. We're led to believe Nick will be unhappy and Anne will be upset and yada, yada, yada. Nope. The dinner is rescheduled and Nick can go about his plans. So it's a nice little, it's not like ingenious writing or anything. Stuff happens where you have a plan and something happens where that plan doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And sometimes that plan doesn't happen and you're sad. And other times you're like, oh, shit. Hour or two later, and whatever that thing that interrupted your plan was gets canceled or rescheduled or whatever. You're like, yeah, sweet, great. We're back on board, right? That's sort of what's going on here. So it's cool. I don't know. I like it personally. Now we get the introduction of Danielle, played by Rebecca Gayheart from Urban Legend. So she's introduced, and she has very obvious romantic feelings for Nick. It's, yeah, she definitely wants to get it on with him and not, like, you know, beat him up or anything. So Nick's picked up some flowers for Anne. You know, he's happy, whatever, yada, yada. And there's some playful flirting going on here. Danielle says, what would I have to do to get flowers all the time? Nick goes, you don't get flowers all the time? She goes, nope. Nick goes, that's a crime. Nice little thing there. Because this sort of is like a buddy comedy / crime film. Not, you know, like Martin Scorsese crime film, but there is crime involved. So, again, just cool little bits of writing here and there. And like I wrote, yeah, it's a little foreshadowing for the story. It is kind of weird. Oh, man, Danielle, Rebecca Gayheart. She is gorgeous, especially in this film. What? I do not buy for a second no one's getting her flowers. Like, I am 100% on Nick's side here, where he goes, that's a crime. That is a crime. How is someone like you not getting flowers? I don't know. He kind of, you know, just goes off, and we see Danielle just kind of giving him, like, longing eyes. Shot of Nick pulling into the driveway will be echoed again at the end of the film. There will be some visual and character differences, of course. Now the story really starts. That's what I have here. Now the story really starts. Nick hears a sound in his house. Is this his house or is this Anne's house? That's something also I'm not very clear on. Let me know down in the comments if you are familiar with Nothing to Lose. Is this Nick's house? I would assume it's Nick's house, but it could be Anne's house. I don't know. Or it could be their house. I don't know. But anyways, he's inside the house and he hears something, right? He brought the flowers in and he hears something. And it's funny because first he looks for something and he grabs this like giant Michael Myers knife and he's like, what? Puts it down. Then he looks around and he picks out this what is it? He picks out like a plastic spatula that you would like flip pancakes over with. And he's like, no. And then he's like, and then he goes in the cabinet, he goes in a drawer and he picks out a pepper spray. And he's going through and he's puts that in his pocket. He takes out a candle, like one of those big, long, white candles, takes the candle out of it and then uses the base, right? So that's his weapon now. He has the candle base, goes upstairs, thinks he's about ready to sock a robber or whatever. You as the audience don't know what the hell's going on. Opens the door, and this is where the sex scene comes in. But it's kind of weird because there's not a whole lot of sex going on, first of all. You don't see anything, okay? And then I also noticed, it's kind of weird too. It's funny, the sound, so like when it cuts back to Nick, the sound effects of like the bed squeaking and the moaning and stuff, and then it cuts back to Anne. When it cuts back to Anne, there's not a whole, it's like this. This is what she's doing, right? And obviously she's on top of the guy. She's doing this. Like it'll cut back to Nick and it'll be like bed squeaking, like there's some real rough action going on. It doesn't add up. It's a little thing I noticed. But anyways, we're led to believe that Anne is sleeping with another guy. For real. Like she's actually cheating on Nick. Now Nick is so heartbroken and he doesn't, he doesn't want to storm in there. He doesn't want to beat the guy up. He doesn't want to do anything. He's just so heartbroken. And I bought it. I bought it 100%. Obviously, if you've seen the film, you know that if he would have gone in there, the film wouldn't have happened. So, but it makes sense, for his character. He doesn't want to go in there. He's just so heartbroken. He thought the jokes the jokes that we were hearing at the beginning of the film, he thought that was all just playful stuff. And turns out, nope, it's real. Goes downstairs, and then he notices, what does he notice? Cufflinks. He notices cufflinks that have, what is it? I think it's a PB or something like that. So he attributes that to Philip, his boss. So, because we never see the guy. we only see the girl and not even really anything. We just see her back and her hair, and everything looks like Anne. So it's, you know, it's very easy for the audience to be like, yeah, that's Anne. When I first saw it, I was like, yeah, that's 100% Anne. Spoilers, I'm just going to tell you right now, it's not Anne. Anyways, Nick doesn't know that. He goes downstairs, finds the cufflinks, and he's like, oh my God. Not only is my wife cheating on me, my fucking boss is cheating on me, essentially. Can you imagine that? Man, I don't know. I might have gone up there and beat the shit out of my boss. I don't know. That's just me. I love that Nick just leaves. He doesn't engage at all. Says a lot about who he is. The heartbreak is simply too much. He can't believe it. And finding the cufflinks in the kitchen adds to his disbelief. And it's effective setup for the story. You know, it really is. So now the following scene, I wrote, the following bits of heartbreak / humor are awesome. First, we get a shot of him totally oblivious to oncoming traffic. So he's in his own world now. He's driving. Goes right through a stop sign, and there's like cars coming, and they just like, they're like, what the you know, makes sense. It makes sense. You know, it's crazy, but yes, I'm sure there's been people like that. You know, I've been through it. I haven't done something like that, but I do know that feeling of just, you know, it's all just over now. You know, it's like, now what do I have to live for? Kind of like that. So that's cool. And then, of course, we get a shot of him going so slow that everyone behind him is just, you know, going around him. He's like on a highway, and there's a guy that gives him the middle finger, tells him to get out of the road, and just going so slow on the highway. Takes a detour into this kind of not nice looking area, which is where we're going to meet Martin Lawrence's character, because he's just driving through, comes to a stop sign or a stoplight, and it's cool because we don't even see how Martin Lawrence gets in the car. We're just driving with Nick. We see Nick, cameras on Nick. He's just looking out the window. And then a gun comes right into view. And it's so good. It's like, how did he get in here that stealth-like? It's cool. It's a nice introduction to the Martin Lawrence character. T is his name, T. Paul. I wrote, how did he get into the car with no noise? Makes us feel like Nick. And then the introduction line is, welcome to hell, bitch. Cool line. I really like that. I wrote that the edit between T asking for his stuff, Nick looking emotionless, like he doesn't care at all, and then cutting back to T with the look on his face is so funny. He's like, give me everything you got, or, you know, whatever, you know, give me all your shit. Cuts to Nick, who just doesn't care at all. And then it cuts back to Martin, and he's just like, I have a gun to your head. Give me your shit. He's just like, you hear what I said? It's so funny. It's so good. I really like it. I really like it. I wrote, he's wide-eyed and serious as hell, but he has a flair of zero intimidation. You know, that's the way T's character comes off here, which we'll come to learn later on is 100% true. He pretends to be like really, you know, tough guy, but he's not. And I've never really been a Martin Lawrence guy. Like, I've really never been a fan of his, but this movie made me a fan of Martin Lawrence's. All right, Mark. I see you now. All right, so anyways, so that's that. Suddenly the tables turn because Nick says, you picked the wrong guy on the wrong day. And he speeds off. And the tables turn because now Nick is in control. And T is like, dude, what are you doing? Let me out. Nick takes out his wallet and he's like, oh, you wanted this? Oh, you wanted this? Throws it out the window. And that, of course, comes into play later on. It's so good. It's just this nice little turn of the tables. I really, really like it. And they go off to Arizona. The robber becomes the one in distress. Nick does this weird swatting action at his face. There's this shot. He's just driving, right? So after all the commotion has kind of settled down, Nick just does this like swatting thing at his face. I don't know what it is. And it's just this great line. Where am I? T just goes, what the fuck? It's like, it's so easy for the audience to get on board with these characters because someone will do something so dumb or out of place, then the other person will acknowledge it and you're like, yeah, what the fuck was that? but that's the beauty of the writing here that Steve Oedekerk did. You know, he was like, because like I said, Steve Oedekerk has a weird sense of humor. So you either like it or you don't like it. And I feel like this movie has a lot of that weird humor, but it has someone always kind of looking at it from a normal perspective and going, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So that's a nice balance between the offbeat humor and then the like the humor that a lot of other people, if they don't like the offbeat humor, they'll like the humor responding to the offbeat humor, if that makes any sense. All right, so now Nick pulls over to a diner and T tries to hitch a ride, and it's so funny because right in this one shot, we know T is stuck. A bulldozer just goes right by him, super slow. He's holding his thumb out, and a bulldozer just drives right by him, and we know, and T knows, he ain't getting a ride. He ain't getting a ride anytime soon. So he's kind of stuck with Nick now. Because we got to remember, this is, you know, mid-90s. Cell phones weren't super duper popular, if at all popular, so he's kind of screwed. And especially being who he is. He doesn't have a lot of money and all that stuff. So now T goes back inside and the bickering starts, and this waitress comes over, and it's this nice little scene here with some nice little subtle social commentary stuff going on, because she's white, Nick is white, and T is black. So she comes over and she automatically asks Nick, "Is this guy bothering you?" And then, you know, obviously Martin is like, what the hell? Why are you pointing me out? Like, maybe this guy's bothering me. You know what I mean? Nice little stuff going on there. Eventually, it goes to the point where the waitress is like, look, before this gets out of hand, can you pay for your stuff? Because I've seen this get out of hand and no one pays for anything. So Nick's like, yeah, of course. Oh, shit, I forgot. I threw my wallet out the window. Nice turn of the tables again here, where back to T. T's like, oh, here you go, ma'am. And then it's just this like look on the waitress's face where she's like, huh, okay. You know, she's like, maybe I judged this situation a little wrong here. Nice little moment there. I really like that stuff. Nick says out loud that he remembers that there's a spare credit card in his car, in a compartment. Obviously, this elicits both of them to run out. And there's just some slapstick shit going on here, which is kind of weird. Yeah, like they're fighting. You know, it eventually ends up with them over at the car and kind of hitting their heads on the door. You know, T opens the door thinking he's, you know, basically got it, opens the door on his head, and then Nick finds the card, and then it eventually ends with the waitress kind of whacking them both on the head with like a pan or something. And then we go back into the diner. Now we're back inside the diner. And I wrote, we get a nice little dialogue exchange here following the shenanigans that sets up Nick and T's soon-to-happen adventure. T asks why Nick is out in the desert and assumes it's because of women problems. There's also a nice Terminator reference in here as well, which is just brownie points for me, you know. T is basically saying, oh, what, did you catch a woman cheating? Well, if it was me, I would have terminated that shit. I just would have walked right up there. I would have busted the door in, you know what I mean? Watching it, I was like, yes, nice Terminator reference. This movie already has me. Really cool stuff there. I wrote, it seems like Oedekerk might have let Martin improvise here, which is really good. Like this scene is one of the shining moments for Martin. He just, you know, is going on and on and on and on and on, and the diner is looking like, Jesus Christ, this guy's really loud, and good stuff. Really good stuff here. This movie's fun. This movie is so fun. That's it. This movie's fun. But I will say, what I will say, just really quickly, pausing here for a second, I don't know if this is just me. Let me know. If you don't let me know anything, down in the comments, let me know if anyone else has this DVD. When you pop it in and watch it on your screen, does it fill the whole screen? Or does it do what it did for me and is kind of like presented in a rectangle? So there's dark on all four sides. Normally, I'm okay with like the lines at the top, you know? For some reason, this movie and one or two other movies on DVD that I have, like The Abyss, it's a literal rectangle that it's presented in, and all is dark around it. And I went through my picture formats and everything, and it's all the same. It's all the same. It's so weird. It made it a little hard to watch, just a little hard. It didn't truly ruin the experience, but I kind of came away going, man, I really wish I could have seen more of that film. You know, like I wish the picture would have just, I don't know. It's just a weird format that it's presented in. Is that just me or is that other people? Anyways, that little gripe aside, you cut to a gas station, right, where Nick is daydreaming about Anne. You know, he's kind of just envisioning, damn. All right, so yeah, maybe because she's like in a like a wedding dress or a gown or something. So they must be boyfriend and girlfriend. They must be boyfriend and girlfriend because he's imagining marrying her, or he could be flashing like back in his head to when he married her. I don't fucking know. Anyways, he's daydreaming about Anne, and he overfills his gas tank. Which, does that actually happen? I thought it stops when you get to a certain point. Maybe he had it pulled out so far that it wasn't registering, and he kept, yeah, that was probably it. Anyways, he overfills it, and he gets some gas on his shoes, which come into play. Meanwhile, T is robbing the joint. So now we get a real over-the-top chase sequence here between the guy that he robbed, Nick and T, and a cop, which we can assume is the one that he called, and they just kind of all congregated here. They're driving, they see the cop, so they turn around, and there's this cool line here that I have where the cop goes so monotone, so just like, and very country, he's just like, well, would you look at these crazy sons of bitches. Good stuff, good stuff here from this cop. A+ for the cop. He's so funny. And then it follows that up with everyone minus Nick saying, oh shit, because everyone's just kind of coming together, right? So you have the guy that he robbed, T, coming this way. You have Nick and T and the cop behind them coming this way, and they're playing a game of chicken. So everyone's going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. That's the cop. Nick doesn't say it because he's ready. You know, he's ready. He knows the guy's going to go around, or we think he knows. We don't really know. But the guy does go around, and they crash into each other, the gas station guy and the cop. Nick and T are off. So, pulling over, we continue setting up the wild adventure that will be known as Nothing to Lose. Nick is pissed over how dumb he thinks T is to rob a gas station, and I have the things here. Nick goes, you're beetle-headed. T goes, what is beetle-headed? Nick goes, it's a synonym for stupid. And T goes, oh, well, here's a synonym for procreation. Fuck you. I love that line. Nick decides, right here in this moment, he's going to rob Philip for sleeping with Anne. They drive off. There's a great rock song that starts. And then it's funny because this is the part where it's like interrupted. So it's really abruptly interrupted. T has to get out and pee. Gets back in the car, drive off, and the song gets right back going. Nice little timing and pacing going on there in the editing room. I like that stuff. Now, blamed for the gas station robbery because the cop didn't get a clear image of these guys. Two new characters, Rig and Charlie, played by Giancarlo Esposito, who is from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. John C. McGinley, he's in Office Space. He's in a lot of stuff. I think it's Office Space. But this guy's in a lot of stuff. You recognize them when you see them. I didn't recognize Giancarlo, I gotta be honest with you. He just looks different. But I did recognize Rig, John. So they're introduced. So these are the guys that got blamed for the gas station robbery instead of Nick and T. Now the following scene has some nice character development between Nick and T, highlighting T's knowledge of technology, computers, whatnot. And then he finds in the compartment in front of the passenger, he pulls out a camcorder. And there's some small social issue talk here. Nick says, well, if you're so good at doing this stuff, why don't you get a job doing it? T says, I'm not the company color or something like that. And, it's nice. It's immediately, though, interrupted by a random spider that got on Nick's head. We don't know how. Just kind of is there. Nick pulls over really quickly. He gets out. He's trying to get it off. There's this great song going on behind him. He's doing this crazy dance. Book of matches, I guess, from his pocket from the car fell on the ground, and he's stomping on it. And this is where the gas on his shoes comes into play because he kind of stomps on it in such a way that one of the matches ignites his shoe, and now his feet are on fire. But what's really cool about this scene is it looks like Tim Robbins did this. For real. It looks like he 100% did this stunt. That's awesome. Both feet are on fire, and he's dancing around trying to put him out. Awesome scene. T is just there filming, finding the whole thing funny. That comes into play as well. So that's pretty funny. That is pretty funny. The next scene is really awesome because there's a great little cameo, essentially, from Blake Clark, who is in The Waterboy, 51st Dates. In The Waterboy, he played Farmer Fran, that guy that totally speaks gibberish. In 51st Dates, he's the dad to Drew Barrymore's character. He's in a lot of Adam Sandler stuff, so it's so weird for me personally to see him in a movie that has nothing to do with Adam Sandler. So strange. But he plays a gas station cashier here. Really funny because he sees Nick come in, right? And Nick is like, give me your gun from T. Takes it in, puts it in his pants right here. Walks in, Blake sees it, and basically goes, what are you, a cop? Nick goes, no. And he's like, okay, that'll be $5.40. You guys have done too much of this shit. So it's this nice little thing where, damn, how many times has this guy been robbed? He's ready. He goes to call the cops. He gets them on the line. Nick swipes it out, takes out his gun, holds him, at gunpoint. And there's a great line here that I wrote where they're like, hello, sir, hello. And Blake just goes, that show Cops? I love it. And he hangs up the phone. So funny. It's so good, just the way he delivers it. Nick tells him to rip the phone out of the wall, and he just does it so quick. He's just like... So good. Such a good comic performance. Blake Clark, really good. I think he does now the voice of Slinky Dog for the Toy Story films. He's picked up for... oh, damn. You guys are going to hate me. What's the guy's name that played Ernest, right? The guy that played Ernest originally voiced Slinky Dog. He passed away, unfortunately, and then Blake Clark took over the role. But I don't remember the guy's name. I just think of him as Ernest. Correct me down in the comments. Please, do me a favor. Funny as hell. Great scene right there. So it cuts to Rig and Charlie in their car. They're listening to classical music. Rig is not necessarily hating the music, but he goes, dude, what is this stuff? This stuff is really depressing. It's like really classical. Charlie says, this shit is the shit. And then Rig says, I'm in bad shape over here. This is a fun combo here. So not only is the chemistry between Martin and Tim really good, the characters, but the chemistry between Charlie and Rig, John and Giancarlo, so good. Like, it's really good. Yeah, they're funny. They're really funny together. I don't know. I like it. So they see Nick and T holding the cashier's shotgun, like they pass by, and they're like, whoa, hold the phone. Turn around, they follow them, they ram them from behind, because they're like, you guys are not, we're the criminals on this stretch of highway, you are not taking over, we own this land. They run them off the road, it's funny, they get out, they, hold them at gunpoint. There's a scene where T is like thinking he's like gonna one up them, and he's like, put the fucking gun down right now. He has one gun, and they obviously have two, and they pull him up, and they're like, and T's like, oh, just kidding, we're all cool here. How you guys doing? It eventually progresses. Obviously, there's some banter that goes back and forth here, them letting them know, who they are, and it ends up with T grabbing one of their guns and saying, back the fuck up. Back the fuck up. He's just going nuts. He's like everywhere, just going left and right, and he pulls the trigger right as he's passing by Nick, shoots him in the arm, and he's like, dude, you shot me. What the fuck? What the fuck? And like, it just progressively gets going here where it's one of the craziest, longest scenes of, fuck you. No, fuck you. And pardon all this French that's going on here, but it's just everyone, all four of these characters end up constantly, saying fuck you to you, and then T will say fuck you to Charlie, and then Charlie will say fuck me, fuck you. It's so funny. Like, if you're not offended by that, really strong language, this is funny shit because it just keeps going on and on and on. It shoots out Riggs and Charlie's front passenger tire to kind of really disable them. So, however, Rig and Charlie use Nick's business card to track him because they took his business card. They were like, give us what you got, and took his business card. T lets Nick stay at his place for the night. So this is really where we get to kind of get a glimpse at Martin's character. Because he's not a bad guy. He really isn't a bad guy. He's trying to provide for his wife, kids, and his mom. They all live together. And, you kind of get to see that T is really trying. He's looking for jobs. He's applied himself. He has not degrees, but he's definitely tried his best to do right by him and everyone. And it's just not working out for him. So that's why he's had to turn to this life of crime. It's a nice thing here. And I want to say Oedekerk balances it pretty well. But Oedekerk is definitely stronger on the comedy side. So the fact that he incorporated some dramatic elements is really why I don't think we've seen, ever since this film, we haven't seen Oedekerk really venture into dramatic territory that heavily. You know what I mean? Because I think with this film, he realized I'm definitely stronger on the comedy side. But, there's nice bits here for sure. Absolutely, 100%. Now, the next day is one of my favorite scenes in the film. Nick and T rob a store for 2 flashlights. And this is the introduction of Henry, played by Patrick Cranshaw, who unfortunately did pass away a few years back. He's most popular for the character of Blue in Old School, that movie with Will Ferrell. I haven't seen it, but that's what he's most popular in, actually. But yeah, he's this little store clerk named Henry, just so sweet. They come in and T holds Henry at gunpoint, saying, basically, freeze, motherfucker. You move your ass half an inch, I'll blow it off. And he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then I wrote the entire dialogue here, so I'm just going to kind of say it for you guys. Nick goes, why are you acting so mean? T goes, you say scary shit. It scares them. Nick goes, but you have a gun. Plus, what you're doing is a stereotypical robber thing. I mean, it's a lot scarier if someone with a gun is calm and cool and collected. Takes the gun from him. Nick pulls Henry over. He goes, excuse me, sir, come here. Now look, Henry, we're going to take some things out of here. And you're just going to stand there. You got a problem with that? Henry goes, no. Nick goes, good. Now, honestly, which one do you think was scarier? He just pulls back. And this is so good. Henry goes, honestly, he was scarier. Nick goes, really? You don't find what he did contrived? Henry goes, no, it was scary. And it's funny, too, because it's the sweet old man that's saying this. And then Nick goes, well, what part? This is the funny part. Henry goes, well, the freeze motherfucker part was scary. And then he led me to believe that if I moved my ass, it might be blown off. I remember watching it. I think this is the scene that got me the most, just because of the absurdity of it all and the genuineness of Henry, the character of Henry. So anyways, they get their flashlights, they leave, a customer comes in, and then Nick is like, all right, I'll try out your approach, T. And he just goes, freeze, suck a bitch. And then Henry goes, that was much better. And then they leave. It's so funny. Now, following this part is probably one of the only unnecessary scenes in the film, I think. There's a strip club scene. There is no nudity, but it's a strip club scene where we see Charlie and Rig. I mean, we can put that in our heads. We don't need to see that. It's so unnecessary. Literally, it lasts maybe 30 seconds, and then that's it. So what was it in there for? I don't know. Now, Nick and T are ready to rob Phil. Yes, they're pretty stupid, though, for not wearing their masks the entire time. They only wear them when they get inside. So this plan is already botched, in my opinion, because you're telling me there's not security cameras outside the building? I don't know, whatever. They're clearly not thinking straight. So they get inside, right? They get inside, they turn off the security system, they take the money out of the safe, and then Nick sees a framed photo of him, Anne, and Phil. He's like, ugh, he doesn't like that. Then comes the dumbest choice Nick has made so far. Takes his mask off, flicks off the camera a bunch of times, and takes a sword off the wall that Phil has, chops the erect boner off of that statue, and then, after he does all that, then he takes his mask off and basically says, fuck you, Phil. Oh, come on, Nick, you're smarter than that, man. I don't know, it just bugged me, but yeah, anyways, so that's funny, and then we get the scene involving Steve Oedekerk, making his nice little cameo here, playing this security guard who does this really cool flashlight twist. He twists his flashlight, really freaking cool. I don't know how he does it. I don't know if it was in post that they fixed it, or it's just, it almost looks like he doesn't even hold it. That's how good it is. I don't know if it's real or whatever, but it's a cool little thing here. The security guard thinks he's the shit, you know, he's pretending like his flashlight's a gun. But it just goes to show you that Steve Oedekerk is a great comedic actor. He really is. Right up there with, you know, maybe not to the degree of Jim Carrey, but right around there. They came up at the same time in real life together. So, definitely cool. But really the main scene with him is awesome because right as Nick and T are leaving, there's a security guard, so they have to hide. And right as he's done inspecting the room, the security guard, he's about to leave, Nick accidentally turns on the flashlight, which is sort of like a flashlight / radio combination thing. He turns it on. That brings the attention of the security guard, and he's like, what's going on here? It must have been that alarm that went off. Turns off the alarm, and then he switches on the radio, I think, on the clock on Philip's desk. Turns on the music, and then he just goes to town for like an hour and a half, just lip syncing and dancing. And this is the part where you get to see Steve Oedekerk just lose his shit. And yeah, he has this great dance sequence going on here, and obviously he'll carry that over to Kung Pao. But he's really funny here. He really is funny here. Doesn't have a whole lot to say, but he's just a great physical performer. So very cool stuff. He eventually leaves because he realizes he's wasted so much time. He's so sweaty. Finally, Nick and T can leave. So they do. So now they go back to a hotel, and Nick feels even worse for stealing all the money. So he feels even worse than he did before. So this makes him go downstairs to the bar, take some shots, and in comes Danielle, drunk as a skunk. And they're, you know, flirting to each other and flirting with each other, and she's like, you know, do you want to come upstairs with me? And they're like, yeah, sweet. They go to the elevator, right? They're like making out so intensely. And then they look over and they realize, oh shit, there's an old lady, so uncomfortable. It's so funny. But man, good for you, Nick. Good for you. You think your wife cheated on you, so you better do things with Danielle. Hell yeah. They don't, but whatever. So anyways, Rig and Charlie have followed and tracked them to this hotel, and they find T alone inside the room because obviously Nick is not with him. He's with Danielle. They're about to have sex. Nick and Danielle, not Rig, Charlie, and T. Nick and Danielle are about to have sex, but he can't do it. He loves Anne too much. He can't do it. All right, so here comes the plot twist, right? So he can't have sex with Danielle. He can't make himself do it. And this is the plot twist. He calls Anne up, and he's like, you know, we shouldn't play each other here anymore. You know, we know what you did. I saw it. And Anne is like, do you not remember I told you my sister was coming down with her fiance? I gave you the wrong date by accident. That was my sister, who has the same color hair. There's a nice reveal here where the camera's panning, and right as Nick tells Anne what he saw, we get to see the sister behind her, very, you know, far away, but she has the same color hair, so it clicks right away where we're like, oh shit, we didn't see Anne, we saw her sister having sex with her fiance. Oh man, Nick is so happy, and there's a great line here where Nick goes, so you're not having an affair? And Anne goes, no, you dick. It's so good, it's so good. So now Nick is so happy, but then he realizes, shit, we gotta take this money back. I can't keep this money. My life is back to normal, and it can't crumble now. So anyways, he walks up to the room, and he finds T in this insane, like, trap, where they have fashioned him to a chair, tied him to a chair, put him on the balcony of the hotel, leaning right over the edge. So they lifted the chair up onto the balcony, tipped T so that he's kind of leaning over, and so that only the two legs are on the rail. They tied the comforter to the chair, and they pulled it just to the door, and they closed the door on the comforter so that if anyone comes and opens the door to try to help them, it's obviously going to pull away because he's leaning and he's gonna fall over. It's something that I'm sure it's been in some other movies, but I've never seen it in another movie. So anyways, Nick opens it, catches it, grabs it, saves him, and then T goes, "You're my dog." And doing that is what pushes him over the edge, and he falls. He's falling, but the comforter like catches on the rail, and he swoops down onto another balcony, and he's saved. And they're like, "What the hell?" So good. And then they're like, "Come on, we gotta go get the money." They catch up to Rig and Charlie, and they basically do what Rig and Charlie did to them earlier. They ram them from behind, run them off the road, and they follow them down to like an alley or something like that. And they both have guns, obviously, and there's basically a standoff going on here where Rig says, "Are you aware there's only two kind of people on this planet? There are killers, and then there's everybody else. I'm a killer, Nick. Yes, 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 yes." And he's holding the gun to him, and that's how many times he says yes. 4 times. Yes, yes, yes. It's so good. Yes. And then he goes, "What are you, Nick?" And the camera zooms in on him, and he goes, "I'm married." And he shoots the shotgun. It shoots the gun out of the guy's hand, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it actually hurts him. Shoots the gun out of his hand. And basically it culminates in them leaving Rig and Charlie for the police. They kind of tie them up. And Nick tells T about his revelation with Anne and that the money has to go back. And this is the part of the film, again, where the drama comes in here, because Nick says, "T, I can get my life back." And then T goes, "Well, you forget one thing, Nick. I get my life back too." T walks home. And there's a great song here that I put on my Spotify playlist. It's called "Crazy Maze" by Desiree. It's really good. It's a nice piano ballad. And we actually get to hear, this is the part where the film title, "Nothing to Lose," comes into play here. It's, "I've got nothing to lose." It's so good. I love that song. I've played it so many times. It's also here we get to see the same shot of Nick pulling into the driveway, but this time this car is taking a shit on itself, and so has Nick. And the following day at work, Nick's told about the vandalism that has occurred and that they're checking the tapes, and he's like, "Oh shit, I gotta go stop them real quick." And he gets there, and they're like, "Shh." And right as he gets to the part where he's taking his mask off, it's revealed, we never see how it's done, but because T is so good with technology, it cuts away from him taking the mask off, and it he like inserted that footage of him filming Nick dancing with his feet on fire. So he saved his ass, essentially. It's a nice moment. It's a nice moment. Phil, of course, is heartbroken because he doesn't get to see who chopped the boner off. He's unhappy, but whatever, he'll live. And the final scene. This is the final scene. We get to see T enjoying a barbecue with his family. Okay, he's accepted. He's like, all right, I guess things could be worse. T's mama mentions to his wife that this is my very special mustard. Don't you let nobody touch it, or something like that. Nick walks over, and he basically tells him that they're looking for someone to do the security stuff and to run it at his corporation, and that T would be the perfect guy for it. And it ends on a really good note there, except for Nick uses all of that mustard on a hot dog. He finishes that whole little bottle that Mama had there. She sees it, she comes over, whacks it out of his hand, slaps T, and the movie ends there on this really nice little note of, things are looking up for these characters. So my final thoughts. Because I am going to be doing my ranking when I'm finished with these highlight videos. I really enjoyed this movie. I really enjoyed it. I know it's a movie I'm going to watch repeatedly for the rest of my life. It made me a fan of Martin Lawrence. Made me a fan of Tim Robbins, but more so Martin Lawrence. I think he steals the show here. And I think it's a nice little departure for Steve Oedekerk, dabbling in drama. But like I said, he is better suited for comedy. So, having said that, guys, that is my highlight of Nothing to Lose. Now, like I said, If there's anything I might have missed, if there's anything I might have incorrectly stated, let me know anything that you want to down in the comments about Nothing to Lose. That's really the whole point of this video, is to really inspire discussion on this film. Now that I have seen it, normally when I do these, I watch it all the way through, and then I'll rewatch it, and then I'll do my notes. So I'm really super fresh on it. So anyways, guys, I've talked long enough. It's crazy doing these videos because my voice is like, by the end of it, I'm just... Oh, man. Whew. That's some high quality H2O. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying these videos. If you are, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, subscribe, share, do all that stuff. And guys, I'll see you in the next video. I'm so excited for this next one. We are talking Steve Oedekerk's Kung Pao, Enter the Fist. See you then.